I'm honored to be here to talk to you guys. I hope that I'm able to help you guys learn something new today and y put it together and like I like what you guys said about what you learned about the in the February Legacy Connect. I hope that by the time April comes, you'll be able to have implemented some of the things that we'll talk about in today's presentation. So let me just go ahead and share my screen. So we're going to be talking about how you can leverage technology for academic and career growth. And the main focus is how students across several fields can use technology and digital tools to enhance your learning, your productivity, your opportunities, and your career prospects. All right, so we're going to cover a little bit about me. We're going to talk about how you can enhance your learning. We're going to talk about building relevant skills, how you can also position yourself for future opportunities, and some action points on how you can start using technology tools today. Just I want you to know that today's talk is going to be very practical. As much as possible, I've tried to put together tools that I myself have used, right? And I continue to use on a daily basis so that it's not just going to be some abstract talk. And, if you have any questions about it, I can actually tell you, okay, I've used these tools. I've actually used every one of these things. I try to curate all of these things from my own experience. Now, a little bit about me as as was said when I was being introduced, I'm a software engineer. I graduated from University of Ibadan, electrical electronics. I also recently completed my master's in computer science. I'm currently focused on building AI products. I know AI has been the buzzword nowadays. And I also I've been really finding it very interesting the way that AI is going, and so been focusing on AI products as well. And when I'm off work, I mean, I'm likely doing some design on Canva for some just some random design for something different. But I find myself doing lots of designs nowadays, or I'm exploring some AI tool in a side project, found myself building a lot recently, and I hope that by the time we're done with this presentation, I would have inspired, some of you to actually, start building, actually start doing, you guys learned about, starting a business, actually doing something. And I'm a software engineer, so I know some of my examples might be, related to programming and coding and software engineering broadly. But I'm going to try as much as possible to relate it to every other aspect and every other career path that you guys may be involved in. All right, the first thing we're going to look at is enhancing your learning. You are a student. I know many of us here are students, and some of us might be either a secondary school students or an undergraduate or graduate students, or you just finished school and you've just started in your career. But this is pretty much every one of us, we're still learning, right? Even I am every other day, I'm taking a course, I'm learning how to use something new, even at my place of work, I'm learning new tools every day, I'm learning new concepts every day, I'm doing new things that I've not done before, And so I want you to know that technology is not just a tool, it's a multiplier. And the earlier you learn to use it intentionally, the faster you grow. There's lots of tools available, right? So many tools. And even I, being with my, years of experience, I find myself just discovering new tools and being like, oh, wow, why did I not start using this earlier? Why did I not discover this earlier? And so the people that use technology tools the right way, they find that they are simply more effective. Your productivity increases. And I'm going to give you examples. I'm going to tell you a couple stories, along the way to show you how these instances in which I've seen this happening, in the real world. Now, technology as your learning assistant. I just completed my master's in computer science, and of course, it was just like 2024, 2025. So I I was lucky that when I was doing it, there were all these AI tools, having been rolled out. And I actually would say I leveraged AI tools a lot during my master's degree, right? And one thing I can say at the end of everything is that technology, having these tools, is like having an expert guiding you. Right. They provide structure where there isn't one. I will tell you an example. I discovered when I was in university that secondary school was easier than the university environment, not because the things they teach you in the university environment are actually more difficult, right? But because the secondary school environment provided structure in a way that the university environment did not. And so many of my classmates, we struggled in ways that we would not have struggled, that we did not struggle with, in when we were in secondary school. And so I've learned that when I had all of these AI tools, right, I was able to use them like a learning assistant. I was able to use them like my own personal professor. Like if you're in secondary school, it was like having your own personal lesson teacher, right? So that's what I've found technology to that's what I've found technology to be for me. And that's how I use technology nowadays. I use it like a personal learning assistant. And one of some of the ways I used AI tools while I was a student were writing the structure of a report or a paper, PowerPoint presentation structuring. I use tools, right? Technology tools, the internet, and mostly AI tools for structure as a student. And I would say I would encourage you as a student, use it for structure, especially if you're in university, right? The your professors may not give you a very solid structure. They may not, help you arrange things the way they need to be to be arranged. They may not help you connect ideas the way you're used to in secondary school. So use AI tools as a structure, right? Tell it, okay, I'm learning this. What should I know next? The teacher mentioned this, the lecturer mentioned this topic and this topic and this topic. In what order should I learn it, right? Use it a like a professor that you're talking to, like you have the opportunity to talk to a professor and ask it all your questions, right? So the same way your professor is not going to give you the answers in the exam, right? But your professor is going to teach you. It's the same way AI is not best suited to give you the answers, right? It's not going to help you if you're just telling to give you the answers. But if you use it properly, use it as a professor, use it as a tutor, then it gives you all the structure that you need, and everything that you're learning makes a lot of sense for you. And so I use it for PowerPoint presentation. In your masters, you end up doing lots of presentations. And so I found that I have all these ideas in my head. I've written every one of them down. I put them into AI and I tell them, okay, like structure this thing the best way for me, right? Of course, if I did it myself, I'll have something really nice. But when I have somebody, the AI doing it as well for me, I get structure in such a way that, things that I had not thought of, it will suggest it, it's going to, really help me out there. I also use it for flashcards and practice learning. I'm sure we know what flashcards are, right? If flashcards work for you, AI is really, really good. You give it the information you need, you tell it, create flashcards for me. I use it to practice learning. Give me some questions, Let's say you have questions given to you in class. You you're like, okay, we have just two questions that the lecturer gave me, right? Give it to AI. AI is going to come up with more questions because most of the knowledge that we have today, right, is available on the internet. And if it's available on the internet, then your AI tools have access to it, right? And I also use Gemini a lot as advanced Google search. In fact, nowadays I hardly go to Google to type stuff into Google, right? I just ask Gemini because Gemini, right now, I found that Gemini is more like advanced Google search, right? So everything I'm going to see in Google search is just what Gemini is giving me, right? And it's just going to help me structure the information instead of me scrolling Google and trying to find links and trying to find links. And the good thing is that Gemini gives you sources, right? It's going to say, oh, this is where I got this information from. This is where I got that information from, right? So if you've not been using tools like Gemini, or I would say, these are some of the tools you need to look into using. You're a student, you definitely use Google search all the time, right? So using Gemini can make things faster for you. And I'm going to talk with our mentors at at Dreams to Legacy, and we're going to I do have something for somebody at the end of the class, so and if it's not like if it's not today, I'm going to make sure that they reach out to you. So those of you that are around today, I mean, today is your lucky day. Somebody or two people are going to get something from me, as regards these AI tools very soon. So please, our mentors, please let me take note of all the people that are present during today's meeting. And yeah, I do have something for somebody. So so those are the ways that I've used, these AI tools. Now, also as a student and even personally in my life, I've used these collaboration and organization tools. I've used Google Docs a lot. And I don't know if you've not used Google Docs, you need to start using Google Docs for collaboration. Google Docs is just like Microsoft Word if you don't know. And the good thing is that when you're working on it, you can easily just share the link to somebody else. If there's 10 of you, 10 of you can be working on the same document at the same time, right? And honestly, I hardly use Microsoft Word anymore because I'm mostly collaborating. And my job is actually remote, so I find myself having to collaborate with my teammates online. And so I use Google Docs a lot. And I also use Google Drive. You put things in Google Drive. I'm sure most of us are familiar with it. Put stuff in Google Drive, you share the link, everybody has access to it. Google Meet as well. Honestly, when I was trying to share my screen in Zoom, it said I was just a bit confused. That's because I use Google Meet almost every time and I use Zoom very few times. I almost never use Zoom. So every time I need to share my screen on Zoom, I'm always confused. So Google Meet actually gives you free meetings. Yeah, I think you have like 1 hour or free meetings at a stretch. You can create as many meetings as possible. And another fun fact that I will tell you guys is I found that in situations where your network is bad, that even a WhatsApp call can, be slow and lagging. Google Meet usually works well for whatever reason, right? So that's something to take note. If what your WhatsApp calls, you're trying to have a tutorial and it's misbehaving, everybody's network is not great, just switch to Google Meet. You actually will have a higher chance of having a smoother meeting. And also to-do apps. Honestly, to-do apps I do not even remember when I discovered them, but it was sometime when I was in university, and they have come to stay. I literally cannot even do without to-do apps, right? Because I have so many things to do. I know as a student, you do have a lot of things to do. Professionals as well. When you start working, you're going to have so many things to do. And I found out that to focus, I just when something pops into my head, I write it down in my to-do app. I actually use the Microsoft To-Do app, which is one of the few Microsoft tools I use, right? But their to-do app is free and is very, 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 very seamless, very intuitive. And if you have a laptop, you have a phone, as you type stuff on your phone, it gets updated on your laptop. Very easy to use, free product, and works really, really well. And that's one of the apps I use. So all of this just shows you that using all of these technology tools, they can solve problems in your life. Someone helps you stay organized. One helps you collaborate. And when you can use all of these tools properly, right, you will realize that you are more effective at what you're doing. Even as a student, as a student, using, if I had discovered Google Docs when I was a student, I would have actually used it a lot more than I used then because I wasn't really familiar with it then. Google Meet also, I wasn't really familiar with it. I think it's only Google Drive that I used while I was still a student. Google to-do apps, yeah, I already started using to-do apps as a student, and I honestly sometimes I scroll down and I see to-do notes I've taken like almost 4 or 5 years ago, you know. So yeah. Moving on, student advantages. So as a student, you actually have it's very funny. I discovered this thing when I was in like I think that was my first, it was my second year in undergraduate when I was in 200 level. Your student email, especially when you get to university, UI, for example, will give you a student email, right? That your student email is actually recognized worldwide. Many people don't know this, but your student email is recognized worldwide. While I was a student, I actually got free discounts on Apple Music. It was Apple Music that actually, I discovered it on. And it will shock you. You can actually you put your email with these platforms, they verify your email, they verify your student email, they give you discounts. And then, during my master's, I was able to, realize that there's actually lots more things you can get. For students that are in the tech space, right? You can get lots of nice of great stuff with on GitHub with your student account. You get I think there's even like you can get GitHub Copilot, the AI tool for GitHub for free. You get all of those things. There was a time right now I'm currently using a Gemini Pro plan. And I got it because I was a student. I used my student email. They verified my student email, and boom, they gave me 1 year of Gemini Pro. So I'm not paying for Gemini. I'm just using it, right? So there's actually lots of benefits. So whenever you see a tool that is interesting, just Google the tool and say, oh, this tool, say Grammarly, Grammarly student plan, right? You probably get some huge discount because you are trying to use your student email. And also even Adobe, the Adobe suite is Adobe Acrobat, Adobe Photoshop, every one of those tools, you can get really good discounts because you have a student email. So I always say that sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't want to continue being a student because I don't want to continue going to school. At the same time, I don't want to stop being a student because of all the good things that students get. Being a student, it's a huge, huge opportunity. And as we're going to see down the line, regards LinkedIn, there are places you get into as a student that you'll not be able to get into once you leave the student space, right? So while we are students, I want us to like keep your mind open and use all the opportunities that are at your disposal. Now we're going to the next section, which is building relevant skills. You're not going to be a student all your life, right? You're going to be a student, you do your undergrad. If you want to do a master's, you do a master's. Even if you say you want to do a PhD, you will do a PhD, and one day you will finish, right? And then when you finish, what next? You have to build relevant skills, both while you're a student, and if you're no more a student, right now, you need to start building relevant skills. Learn by doing. Take on projects you have never done before. Now, this might seem simple, but honestly, I do not even say it lightly. I've been there, right? And it did take me a long time to finally get to the point where I'm like, I need to learn by doing. I need to learn by doing. And there may be this fear, oh, where do I start from? I'm really glad that, you guys are here on the Dreams to Legacy, Connect, and you have access to mentors, Dreams to Legacy mentors. And if there isn't the structure for that yet, talk to us. Like, oh, I think I need this, I think I need that, right? We're going to try to put something together because I know Dreams to Legacy is here to help every one of you succeed, right? So and I know the Dreams Legacy has like we have some really really cool plans upcoming, right? We have some technology projects that we're about to launch, and we're going to be looking for people that want to learn how to write code, right? Learn how to write code, you or any other skill in the project space. You want to be a project manager, you want to be a scrum master, you all of those things, and we're going to be looking for to train you guys in those things, and you work on real projects and real products that people are using. So there's just so many opportunities and so many plans that we have coming up, right? But you have to be bold, you have to be courageous, take on these projects. Say, okay, I've not done this before, but let me try it, right? And this applies to every other aspect. We talked about, you guys learned about starting businesses, right? Pick up a project and say, okay, let me start this business. It's not going to be easy, right? You've not done it before, but you have to be courageous to actually do it. Because if you don't do it, you will never learn it. Now, another thing you need to know is as regards technology school tools, right? If this is something that exists that somebody has done before or that a group of people have done before, there is very likely a tutorial for it. So that should put your mind at rest. Okay, this thing I've not done before. If you actually search the internet, I know most of us, that's what we do. Once you do something, the next thing is we search the internet. You will find a tutorial for it, right? As a software engineer, there's so many coding tutorials online. Like people always say it sometimes, oh, you don't even need to go to school to get a computer science degree, right? And technically, I would disagree because I understand. the need for the, for a degree. But at the same time, I agree. I say yes, there's nothing you want to learn as a software engineer. Now, I don't know about other fields, and I know some other fields are more technical, but as a software engineer, there's almost nothing you want to learn that you cannot learn online for free. There's just so many free resources. Also, when I was an undergrad in electrical and electronic engineering, my mates made a joke and said that we owe our degrees to the Indian teachers on YouTube, right? Because when we learned stuff in class and we did not understand it, right, there were some really, really good Indian engineers that had tutorials for them on YouTube. And we were always watching those tutorials. And that was where we learned a lot of things, that we used to pass our exams. So there's just so many free tutorials and online guides online that will help you succeed academically and even in other aspects, right? You want to start a business, you want to do this, you want to build a product, you want to take up a project you've never done before. You want to organize a program, you want to organize an event, you want to plan an event. There's just so much online for you to do. And I find myself watching videos about random things, I want to do one random thing. I go on like, oh, I want to do this. I'm shocked. I'm seeing that there's actually somebody that has posted it online. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm just glad that somebody posted it online because I'm like, how else would I, have been able to do this? So there's lots of resources online, but you will only search them out when you actually want to do. So you need to learn by doing. Now, building with AI, I guess this is more tailored to people that are interested in software engineering, right? There's this term that is flying around called vibe coding. And I don't know if you've heard of it, but like everybody's just like, oh, I'm vibe coding, I'm vibe coding. Vibe coding means you're building with AI support. And even experienced software engineers, we do some level of vibe coding, right? I built some products. I'm like, from start to finish, it was just AI that built it for me, like from the beginning to the end, right? Of course, I'm able to tell AI what to do, right? Because I'm a software engineer. I'm able to fix when AI makes a mistake, and then even in fact, I'm able to tell AI what to build better because I have experience. But we actually do have, for people that are in the Twitter tech space, we have people that literally vibe coded apps. They did not know how to write code before. Of course, it's not every situation. There's just a few exceptions, and they actually add here, write code for them. They built these apps, they launched it, and their apps are raking in like tens of thousands of dollars every month, right? So these are people that were bold. They were like, okay, I want to do this. They did it. They had AI build it for them. They had little knowledge, and they were actually able to be successful. You know, successful with it. There's so many tools, these are more of the, AI tools that help you build. We have Bolt, we have the Google AI Studio, and I'm telling you, Google AI Studio is free. Like free, very free, like 100% free. And sometimes I'm always wondering, how do they make it free? Well, like these things are free. You can actually just go online and actually use them today, and you'll be shocked by what it's able to do. And one thing I've learned is once you build one, you gain the confidence to build the next one. You gain the confidence to build the next one and the next one and the next one, right? And that's how it starts. Also, because of all these tools, you're able to build ideas faster with confidence, right? I want to tell you that fortune favors the bold, like literally. Bold people, you don't need to know what you're doing, but you're bold enough to actually, you know, try it out, to actually do it. If fortune is you're going to be the one that's going to be successful at the end of the day. And that's it. Like I had a friend when I was on campus, right? And he was then we're doing electrical engineering, but he was more interested in actually writing software because even as an electrical engineer, you actually write software. They teach us programming because you write code. Slightly different. It's different from web development, but it was bold. Like when he's thinking of things, he's thinking of the big companies. He's not thinking of Nigerian companies, right? He's thinking of bigger companies, thinking of foreign companies. He's doing the kind of things that the rest of us are not thinking about. And this boy, he he was learning the things he needed to learn, and he became really good at it. And then he took another one of his friends and he taught the guy as well. You will not believe that his friend that he taught, did get an internship with Facebook. That was our third year. And this boy actually he flew down to London, spent the summer in London, and did his internship there. Like how did it like it was just that's the kind of things he was thinking of, that's where their mind was. They were thinking big. They were not thinking that, oh, this thing is impossible. They had not really seen anybody do it, but they were just like, and these were engineering students. They were not computer science students. And then the next year, this the friend that he also got it, also flew down to the UK and spent the summer there as an intern with Facebook. So, and when one of them actually did get a full-time offer, and they're currently there, and they're really doing amazing things. It all started with just their classmates. We're all in the same class together, but they were just so confident, like, oh, I can do this. They've not done it before, but they're like, I'm going to actually try to do this. They were thinking big, and they were actually doing. They were doing and doing and doing. And the good thing about doing is that you only get better. You will get better with doing. And you know, it paid off for them. They were bold, and the boldness actually got rewarded. Now, for those that are more like design people, creativity people, creative, we have tools like Canva, we have Figma, we have Google Stitch. Google Stitch is free and is just amazing. I'm going to show you, if we have time at the end, I'm going to show you examples of some of the things that I have, played around with Google Stitch. But if you're creative, these are some of the tools that you need to know. Canva as well, I use Canva a lot, like I said, and I really enjoy it. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a creative, but by actually doing things with Canva, I would say I've gotten better with designing, and I would say my creativity is actually, a little bit better than it was before. Now, positioning yourself for future opportunities. You're a student, you do all of those things while you're a student, you're getting all these skills. You need to really, really keep your mind on the future, right? I'm going to graduate next year, December, next year, November. What next? I'm finishing high school, secondary school. I'm going to into the university. What do I do? I need to keep my mind, on a career. You go to school to study for a career. You need to keep your mind on that which you're doing, on that future that you're actually like really focused on, because the education you're gaining is a means to an end, is not the end, right? And so you must always keep that end in mind and not get lost in the means. Don't get lost in the process. Focus on the process, enjoy the process, but do not forget that that process actually has an end result. Now, while you're a student, while you're studying, and even when you finish studying, right, courses and certifications are some of the, I don't know if I will call them technology tools, but I would say that with the technology that we have today, there's courses and certifications that you can actually get for free, right? Apart from YouTube tutorials that teach you a lot of stuff. An example is when I was some years back, I actually took a YouTube course, right? And then when I came into my master's, the knowledge I gained from that YouTube course actually helped me, because I was now learning the same things that I learned in that course, right? So I was literally just breezing through it. And not only did I do very well in the course, right? The following semester, my professor invited me and said, do you want to be a graduate assistant for this course? Right? Because I did well in the course. And I did well in the course because I had taken a YouTube tutorial like 2 years before, right? So there's really no knowledge that is lost. You never know where that knowledge you gain can really, really open doors for you in the future, right? Then there's Coursera. I know somebody that just took is a Google design course on Coursera, and she took the course. It was free, totally free. Of course, they said she needed to pay at the end of the course to get the certificate. But if any of you take a Coursera course, a really, really solid course, depending on what it is, you're like, okay, this is my career path. I saw this solid course on Coursera. I took the course and I completed the course. And you're like, okay, I need the money for the certificate. And you come to Dreams to Legacy and you tell us, oh, I actually completed this course, and I just want to get the certificate because I've taken the course now and Google tells me to pay. We would definitely be like, okay, that's something we can do for you. So I want you to really, really have that mindset, right? If somebody comes to me and they say I completed a coding course and they're like, oh, how much is the certificate? This is that. I would gladly sponsor something like that, you know. So that's why you have Dreams to Legacy here. So I want you to really, I want you to understand that you have the opportunity to open your mind. You have the opportunity to look ahead. You have the opportunity to be courageous. You have the opportunity to do big things, right? And actually do them. Because you see, if you do not do those things, like other people will also not be motivated to push you a little more, a little further, you know. So please, I would say check out courses on Coursera that really they align with your career, you know, your field of study, and take those courses. Even if you don't get the certificate at the end of the day, you've gained the knowledge, right? And you'll be able to show that knowledge, you'll be able to prove that you have that knowledge through some other means, through some other opportunity. And we also have Google, Meta, and AWS certifications. Some of these certifications are such that if you have them, your opportunity, I know this is actually more, you know, in the tech world, in the software engineering world, right? But these certifications are such that once you have them, you become very valuable, right? You've become like more valuable than almost like 50-60% of your peers. You're already ahead of 50-60% of people, right? And that gives you an edge. Now, the industry reality. I know I've talked about AI a lot, right? And it's just an example of keeping up to date with what is happening in your career, right? In the tech space that I am right now, the companies that I know, I'm talking of like big companies, the big companies around the world, right? They're now forcing employees to actually use AI, right? I know somebody that's very close to me. He works with one of these, you know, top companies, and he is now using AI on a daily. Like the company gives them, you know, unlimited access to these AI tools and says you have to use them. It's not enough to just say, I don't want to use it, you know. AI, you know, the companies say you must use AI. You want to keep your job, you must use AI. And these people is using AI a lot. And every time I see him, I'm like, oh, okay. You know, you're now using AI. And it's like, of course, I'm going to use AI because AI makes it easier for me to work, you know. And so you want to work at a company like that and you get to the interview and they're like, oh, do you know how to use this AI tool? And you say no. Are they going to take you or they're going to take the next person that knows how to use it? They're going to take the next person, right? So keeping up to date and with tools in your and advancements in your field, right? I know if you say you're a law student, there's going to be advancements in your field that are, you know, that's and skills that if you learn you're going to be ahead, you know. If you're a doctor or you're an engineer, you know, being able to being keeping ahead. Even as a student, you don't wait till you finish, you don't wait till you graduate. As a student, you know, there's going to be like newsletters you can subscribe to. There's going to be places that release news that is directly related to your career, you know. Keep up to date with those things, know what is happening in the industry, right? And I would even argue that for many industries, you know, we've already talked about how you can use AI as a student, but even in the industry, right? There's so many industries that are adopting the use of AI in their processes. As a law student, one of the AI products that is currently in the US that is actually making a lot of money. Like they actually have some law clients. It's actually a law AI product, right? It's targeted to for law firms, and this company is now worth like millions of dollars. And what they do is they essentially help AI firms integrate AI such that they have like AI integrated into their workflow and their workflow is accelerated, right? And you're like, okay, that's a law firm using AI. And they're using it so much that they're paying so much money for it. Like, and a company won't pay so much money for something that they're not using a lot, right? Or that isn't benefiting them, right? So we have if there's literally no career that you are in that you shouldn't actually check out how AI is being used in your career, right? Because AI is changing the landscape of things. It is changing the way many things are done, right? And it's simply going to make things be done better and faster. So if you want to be like very relevant, you need to okay, what how is AI changing? Because right now it's AI, tomorrow it can be something else, right? And that's how you must keep track with industry trends. Personal advancement. If you're a student looking for internships or you've graduated and you're now looking for jobs, right? Using AI for your personal advancement is another thing that I'm going to say. You use AI for resume reviews. I know I've used that a lot, right? I write my resume, I give it to AI. I'm like, okay, how good is this resume, right? Or I see a job description, I'm like, okay, does my resume actually match this job description? I use it to save time. Of course, I read it myself, but I use it to save time. And we also have platforms that also use AI to create like custom resumes for your job applications. I know someone that, she was a doctor, right? And she was applying for jobs in the UK, and she used AI a lot to tailor her resume where needed. And she eventually got the job in the UK from Nigeria, and she was able to move, right? And she used AI to help her job application because she needed to submit lots of applications. She was like, "Oh, I submitted close to 100 applications, and she if she did not have AI assisting her, it would have been more tedious and probably taking her more time. And who knows, maybe the opportunities that she got would have already been gone by the time she got around to it. So I understand that for your personal and career advancement, right, you can use AI to enable that. Use it for your resume. Now, this is a quote that I saw. They say there's over 1 billion LinkedIn users, and that 87% of recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates. And so, as a professional in 2026, you should have a LinkedIn account. Not just a professional, as a student, because as students, there's many of courses, there's many courses that actually say you have to do an internship before you graduate, right? So you need to have a LinkedIn account. And I would say from being a student, you need to start building your LinkedIn account because of visibility. The way the recruiting landscape works is people would, people, especially on LinkedIn, people that are like more visible tend to have more credibility, right? And more credibility simply increases your chances of getting a job or being seen by professionals in your field. And it may not even be in form of a job. It can be in form of other opportunities, right? You need a reference tomorrow. You can connect to people and they're like, oh, I know this person on LinkedIn, and she posts about this and this and this, and you get opportunities from that. So LinkedIn is very good for building connections with professionals. It's one of the places where you can really connect to people that are it's like top in your field, that you otherwise would not be able to connect with them in real life or never have access to them. You can also find internships and job opportunities on LinkedIn. I have a friend that he attended UI, he graduated from computer science, and he actually got his PhD opportunity on LinkedIn, right? He actually found his PhD opportunity on LinkedIn. He applied and he actually got a fully sponsored PhD to the US. That was 2022. Yeah. He was my friend, we even worked at the same company for some time. It was on LinkedIn that he found the opportunity. He wasn't even really actively looking when he found it, but because it was on LinkedIn, he actually saw the opportunity, he applied and he got it. So there's events and webinars that is people post on LinkedIn, and even I'm talking about UI a lot because that was the school that I attended. There's lots of events that actually go on within the walls, the four walls of the university, and if you're not actually, or if you don't open your eyes and actively look, right, and even connect with fellow students on LinkedIn, you will not even see some of those opportunities. I know there's also other social media platforms that are being used within the university for you to, see things that are happening. Also, one good thing you need to know is that as a student, you have the perfect excuse to reach out to professionals and alumni to ask them questions. One thing you need to know is if you just go online, reach out to some random alumni, say, oh, okay, I'm a UI student, I'm reaching out to these UI alumni and say, oh, I need a job, right? They will very likely say no, or they'll just be like, oh, just go apply, and that's going to die there. But if you reach out to them and you say, okay, I need advice about this, I'm trying to achieve this, I'm trying to achieve that, I would love some advice. people are actually more receptive to that. Professionals will actually, you'll be very shocked. Some professional will just sit down one day, open his LinkedIn, see your message, and actually just, let me just reply to this person. So I've connected with a couple of people by reaching out to them like that. I was like, oh, okay, I interned at your company, and this person is like some international head of operations or something like that. And they actually will connect and they will actually reply my message. So when you're a student, you have the perfect excuse to reach out to any professional and they will very likely respond to you depending on what you say. So, leverage the opportunity that you have. Now, gaining experience. I don't know if you guys have seen this meme that people sometimes, show where they're like, okay, um, as a recent graduate, they want you to have 5 years experience. And you're like, what? I just graduated. Like, how am I supposed to gain experience if everybody's telling me I need to already have 5 years of experience, right? But there are some people that they graduate from university and they already have like 2, 3 years of experience, because while they were students, they were actually doing real world work, right? They were actually doing the things that qualify as real and professional experience. And there's so many ways to do it. One of the ways that is more generic is volunteering, right? I know the first one here, which is like contributing to open source projects, is more tech related. But when it comes to volunteering, that is one of the best ways to get experience. I know internships are another one because internships are a form of volunteering. Internships and volunteering, it's a sacrifice, right? Because now you to volunteer, you're doing unpaid work. And it takes your time, it takes your energy, but that is one of the easiest ways as a student to gain real world experience. Volunteer at places, volunteer for programs, volunteer for events, just volunteer to be there, to do it for free. And that way, whatever experience you get from volunteering, you can put it, you can put it on your LinkedIn, you can put it as reward experience, you can put it on your resume, and it is totally, totally valid. As a tech person, you can contribute to open source projects on GitHub as well. You're going to be working on real life projects that people are working on. And there are some companies that would even want to see open source stuff. They will explicitly ask you, say, oh, as a new engineer that's just graduating from school, if we see that you've worked on open source projects, we are going to be more inclined to employ you. So those are ways you can get experience as a student so that by the time you're stepping out into the real world, you actually have really good experience under your belt. Now, future proofing your skills, or more like skills that are future proof, and not just future proof, but more like applicable to all aspects, right? And all careers. One is communication. Communication is very, very key. And um, uh, communication, actually, I have now recently discovered, or more like it has finally clicked for me, that communication is a skill that you may not have, and a skill that you can develop, and it's a skill that some people actually do have. So when people say, "Oh, I'm actually great at communication," the question is, are you? Are you really? And one of my co-workers, I reached out to him that was like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, okay, I now finally understand. You're actually very good at communicating, right? And I was like, because I think I am not great at communicating. And I was able to like look at examples and look at, some parameters to finally gauge that, okay, being able to communicate is a skill. And I would say these are the kind of skills you need to develop, right? Because not being able to communicate effectively can really, really affect you, no matter how skilled you are professionally. You may be the best engineer, you may be the best software engineer, you may be the best lawyer. I mean, even as a lawyer, you have to be able to communicate. You may be the best, maybe the best person, whatever sociology or anything. If you cannot communicate, right, it can actually really affect you. So these are some of the skills that you can learn. And believe me, there's courses online, there's videos online that can teach you some of these things. And if Dreams to Legacy sees, if you guys say, oh, I think I want to learn communication better, Dreams to Legacy can organize a connect like this to actually teach you, and we'll bring a professional that's going to teach some of these skills, right? We have problem solving, we have teamwork. People don't know that teamwork is actually a skill. Some people don't know how to function in a team at all. And you might think that you do, but it's actually a skill. And once you're from even from secondary school, And from university, you're going to be put, you have groups, they will group you into to do projects together. And that's where you can learn how to work in a team, and get really good at it. Because some of these are some of the skills that you can put on your resume. And when you're actually being interviewed, you can talk about them. And when you talk well about them, they're actually going to be like, okay, this is the kind of person we're looking for. We're looking for someone that can communicate. We're looking for someone that can work in a team very well, and it just sets you ahead of other people. Um, AI handles repetitive tasks. Humans bring creativity. Creativity will always be a future-proof skill, right? Because as AI, comes into different fields and automates all those things that are very repetitive, right? The world is looking for people that can bring up new ideas, new ideas, real ideas that can work, right? Person that is creative and can bring up new ideas becomes the person that is valuable, you know. So I would say these are skills that you should look into developing, right? In your everyday life, just in little ways, in school, try to say, okay, how can I be more creative today? How can I, incorporate communication better today? How can I be better at problem solving? How can I be better at, working in a team? Well, those like tech space and are thinking, what is it with AI? AI everywhere. We are not everywhere, and I'm talking more to people in the tech space, right? AI is a collaborator and not a replacement. The nature of jobs will change, but the people that use AI will have an advantage, right? AI is not at the point where you're gonna be like, oh, they're gonna lay off they're going to just lay off people and say, oh, yeah, it's taking their jobs. It's not yet at that point, right? But it's already at the point where people that people that are doing repetitive tasks that AI can actually do, the simple things that here that we didn't have AI to do before, people like that, their jobs are already being affected. So you must learn whatever job you're doing, especially in the tech space, you must learn how to leverage AI. Once you can use AI, your job is actually going to be secure because in that case, then you become more valuable than the people that don't know how to use AI, and you're able to do the things that even AI cannot do, right? So I want you to know that that is the right mindset to have. Some people are like, oh, I don't like AI. I'm not going to use AI. No, 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 no. Don't be that kind of person, right? You need to learn how to use it. Otherwise, the world will move ahead and leave you behind, you know. And so I would want us to have the right mindset when it comes to AI. I know we're talking about technology tools, and right now, AI is one of the leading technology tools because AI right now can is literally beginning to like take in many tools that we have and incorporate it such that you're now able to use these AI platforms to do many of the things that you had so many tech tools for, right? That's why I'm talking a lot about AI. Start today, right? It's the year 2026. It's the month of March, right? And there is no better time to start, right? It doesn't matter how far behind you think you are, how far ahead you think you are, just start today. Some action steps. You need to start now, not later, and then pick one thing to start with. I know that depending on the industry you are in and the career you're doing and the course you're studying, and if you're in secondary school, the course you want to study, right? There's going to be a lot of things to do. You can talk to somebody in your field and say, okay, that says, oh, you need to do this and this and this and this and this and this. And there's always so much that you need to do, to be, even from everything I've talked about. But it's best to just start with one thing. One thing. I really love the question that was asked at the beginning that, oh, what did you learn from last Legacy Connect? And what's one thing that you've started doing, right? Pick one thing, just one thing to start with. And then when you finish that one thing, move on to the next one. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And so my challenge, and which I hope that by the time we're having the April Legacy Connect that you would have done are this: create a LinkedIn profile. Even if you're in secondary school, create it. Your LinkedIn profile is not static, it continues to change and you update it as time goes on. If you're in university, oh, you should have a LinkedIn profile. So create one if you don't already have it. And if you have one and it's just sitting there dormant, you know, make plans to actually revive it and actually start posting opportunities, posting stuff there because there's actually opportunities you can get from there, even as a student. I would also say try one AI tool. Just try one, try it, play with it, see what it's about. There's actually most of them are free plans. You can actually just get on them today, create an account and test them for free. However limited the free plan is, you will actually be able to test it and see what it's about. Most of the Google AI tools are also quite free. If you're a software engineer, create a GitHub account. You need that. If you're in computer science, software engineering, if you're information systems, you should have a GitHub account, create a GitHub account. And take action this week. Try to do something this week, even if it's the first step. You know, try to do something this week. Consistency always pays. Above all else, consistency is actually way better than anything else. Once you can crack the code of consistency, you'll be able to achieve a lot of things. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me ramble. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search my name and send me a friend request. I'm going to get it and we can connect. So I look forward to connecting with you guys. All right. I know I said I was going to show you guys some of these tools. So I don't know if I hope I'm not like I hope I am not way beyond the time stipulated. So please, if I'm way beyond time, please just you can just let me know, just drop me a message. But if not, let me just show you guys some of the tools I mentioned here. Let me see. I think I mentioned creativity tools. Yeah. So I know you guys can probably already are familiar with Canva, but there's Canva, there's Figma, there's Google Stitch, some of these AI tools. Let me show you. Let me just show you Google Stitch. I know this thing is blocking my view. Just give me a second. My video panel. Show video. Okay, all right. So here is Google Stitch. So Google Stitch is just this AI platform by Google that allows you to tell AI what you want to create, and AI will literally design it for you. I know it's more relevant for software engineers, right? But here, this is one of the projects that I did. So it's just like AI for Canva. And so it's literally gave me all of these designs just by prompting AI. So there's all these tools and it's free, like it's actually free. So you can actually get started with them. Um, I also prepared a little demo to show you guys if you have how you can use AI for your resume review. So I'm just going to use Gemini. So I'm just going to tell Gemini that, oh, here is a job description and my resume. I'm just going to say, tell me if my resume is a good match. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to paste the job description for company A, and I'm going to go ahead and paste my resume. Yeah, so just called myself candidate B. So I'm just gonna add some space there so the AI knows what there's different stuff. And then once I tell it, it's just gonna go through. And so based on the requirements, my resume is an excellent match. And then it gives me a breakdown for how it's not a good match. Gives me the strengths of my resume, gives me the areas to polish for this specific role. And I can tell it that okay, um make 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 edits to my resume to match the job requirements. So because of course you cannot, I've already gone through the job description. I see that, okay, I actually have all the skills here, right? But I just want my resume to better match it. And then it comes up with a better idea, gives me a summary based on my resume, the technical skills, and make sure that my resume is aligned with the job description. So when I submit this resume for the job description, right, it's actually more tailored and it's better than submitting just the same resume to every job description, you know. And this is very similar to what I said that person used to the person used the doctor used, you know, to apply to almost 100 jobs in the UK and was able to eventually get one because she was able to tailor a resume to match the job descriptions. I think another story I'm going to tell is tutorials. You know, I told you about I took the YouTube tutorial and it actually helped me years later when I was doing my master's in computer science. I also would like I also want you to guys to know that I actually got started in tech through a tutorial. Somebody put together a tutorial for me and sent it to me. And actually, I went through the tutorial. That was the first time I learned, you know, I learned all of these tools and actually learned to write code in all these ways. And after I learned, there was nothing. I just learned it and I knew it, right? And then some months later, an opportunity came up, right? And somebody just asked me, I was like, "Oh, what are you doing right now?" I was like, "Oh, I learned how to write code." And I was like, "Okay, you know, let's explore an opportunity." That was how I got my first internship because of the skills that I had developed, right? So while the skills that you learn may not pay off instantly, when you learn and you put together all these skills, right, they are yours. Nobody can take them away from you, right? And I would say gather these skills, you know it. It's eventually going to pay off at the end of the day. Use these technology tools, right? If you're trying to use a tool that you think is so important, you're like, I just don't have access to this tool, right? Reach out to Dreams to Legacy, you know, and let's know, you know. And I guess that rounds up everything that I have today and a little more on what I said earlier when I started the class. I'm going to be giving out to at least one person 6 months of Gemini Pro. So the Gemini Pro plan, I'm going to be giving at least one person, right? 6 months of Gemini Pro plan. So the Dreams Legacy is going to set up an account for you for Gemini Pro and I'm personally going to make sure that you get 6 months, you know, sponsored. So within those 6 months, use the opportunity, you know, use the AI tool, build projects, use it for school, you know, really, really use it and, you know, milk it and use it to boost your productivity. And at the end of the 6 months, I would like, you know, Dreams Legacy to, for you to sort of write some kind of report about how the using it sort of enhanced your life, how it helped you study better. If you're a professional, how it helped you in your professional work. If you're a creative, how you're able to use these tools like Google Stitch to design stuff, you know, really love to see that. And when we're going to share, be able to, you know, share it. Hopefully, maybe you're able to tell your story in an upcoming Legacy Connect like today. So yeah, that'll be it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for having me.
That was a great one. It was very, very immersive. We have a few questions in the comments and the chat box rather. Um, okay, Praise is asking, thank you so much for this session, sir. You mentioned a student's email. Please, sir, is it a normal email? And how can I create a student's email?
Okay, so when you are a student in university, I know it's universities that do that. The university will usually give you an email, right? So if you are not sure what your student's email is, go to your university, go to your department, you know, and ask them, do I have a student email, right? Or what is my student email? So if they do, yeah, I know most universities in Nigeria do have that. If they do, they're going to tell you what your student email is. There's probably a tech office as well in your school. And in UI, you just go to like MIS and they'll tell you your student email. Your student email, we have something like your first name, last name at, you know, maybe for UI, it's ui.edu.ng, right? So that's how you know. So just go to an office and ask if you actually are supposed to have. And if you don't have, they will actually issue one for you. Sometimes some schools want you to ask before they give you.
All right, thank you. So personally, I have a question.
Okay.
Before I take the next question in the chat box, my question is if, in retrospect, if you are a final year student in UI, and you
Mm-hmm.
want to leverage technology for your career, and you said we should start now, then we should do something this week. What's your advice? Where should we start from this week? We want to take a step after today, or even immediately after this session. Where should we start from?
Yeah, so I would say you need to start with LinkedIn, right? Have a LinkedIn profile and um as much I would say it really depends on exactly where you want to focus on, right? Create a LinkedIn account, start interacting, start connecting with professionals in your field because you're about to graduate, so you want to be able to get a job afterwards, right? So professionals in your field, start you comment under their posts, just for the sake of communicating, send them a message and say, oh, I see that you're working on this. I actually recently learned this in a course. I would love if you can tell me how this thing that I learned in school is being used in the industry, right? Just ask them something that's small. Use the opportunity to connect, and then practical work we always win, like when you've done stuff, I know that it's talk more in the tech space, right? But when you actually have projects you've done, and I would say it's not too late to start, right? In 2, 3 months, you can actually build up a portfolio of projects. The example of my friends that I gave, when they wanted to apply to some of these companies, they literally just went online and said, okay, what are some projects that are really nice for beginners to build? And they saw those projects, they implemented the projects and added them to their resume, and boom, it worked, right? So look for the kind of projects that, okay, I'm a I'm in sociology. What kind of experience would I need to get a job in this company? Those are also the kind of things you can ask people on LinkedIn. Look for somebody working there. So what kind of experience should I have? And they're like, oh, they really like people that have done this, and that before, then just say, okay, just I need to do these three things. Let me find a way to do them. Am I going to go and volunteer somewhere to do it? Am I going to do a small personal project myself? Am I going to go and meet my professor and say, well, let me help you. I want to actually get this skill. Let me volunteer. So it's not too late, right? Just okay, look for the things you need to do and just make a plan to do them. However small, just make a plan to do them. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. There's
Mhm.
a question. Do you have any channels? I want to believe this is a YouTube channel this person is asking. Tutorial for tech skills.
So honestly, off the top of my head, I do not, but I can compile a list, I think Dreams Legacy can remind me, I can compile a list of channels that I know are really good. Okay, there's one that I know, there's Coda. I have know a couple that I've watched stuff, but honestly, I don't really know them off the top of my head, but I can compile a list of channels that I know really, really have good tech skills, free YouTube channels and send them as well.
All right. Thank you. Ajinowo Ismail, please follow up with us so that we can follow up with Mr. Kuforiji and can get the channels. Does anybody else on the call have a question or two before we round up? All right. Okay, so my one final question. If I'm not, let's say, okay, I studied law and
Okay.
I've been using AI here and there, but I've tried taking one or two tech courses, US design, and I feel like I don't see myself going fully into tech. So
Okay.
what's the bridge? What's your advice to person that studied something entirely different from tech, maybe philosophy, English language, creative arts, and they want to, how do they maximize technology in relationship with their course? Their course is not science based, it's not tech based or anything. Thank you.
Yeah. So I would say that it's for one, you want to try to see what other people out there are doing, right? Go online, look for professionals in that field, or just like I said, Gemini is pretty much free. Like you can use those AI tools to a large extent. So I would honestly just do that and just go to Gemini and say, I'm a I'm a law student. I studied, philosophy, and I am trying to find out how to use tech in my field, Or let's even do that. I know I'm still sharing my screen. So
Okay.
it's going to be really practical. So I'm just going to say I'm a philosophy student, and I would like to know ways to leverage technology, technology, and maybe AI in my field so that I can be valuable in the job market. And then what this does, what tools like Gemini do is it scars the internet for what people are currently doing, right? And then it's going to give because this question you're asking, believe me, you're not the first person to ask it, right? Somebody has asked it, somebody has explored it, and some other people have been doing it. And somebody says the intersection of philosophy and technology is currently one of the fastest growing niches in the professional world. Wow, who would have thought, right? I wouldn't have known this if I did not search the internet. And it says AI ethics and policy. Companies like this, they have all of this, the skill, how to leverage this, prompt engineering and LLM logic, knowledge engineering and ontologies, technical strategy and documentation, and it can give you a technical to-do list and say, okay, I can then say, give me actionable
Steps.
steps to take today to get
Mm.
started in, let me just say,
Started.
technical strategy
Mhm.
and documentation, you know. And then,
Yeah.
it's gonna give you some plans. Of course, you're gonna take this and then think of it and say, which one of this can I do? Okay, deconstruct a black box product and then say the action, write a one-page deconstruction paper, identify this, and then just do it. Take a product, write it, post it on LinkedIn, right? Master Markdown. And say, okay, how do I master Markdown? And then you ask it, you master Markdown, post it on LinkedIn. I was looking into Markdown, how I can use Markdown as a philosopher, and I actually started learning this, and I learned this. Believe me, once you have all of those things, people will begin to notice you. That's one. Two, if tomorrow you meet somebody in the field, you're in a company, you try to reach out to a company, and you tell them, oh, actually, I'm good at this. I'm a philosopher, and I've been able to integrate technology, and I worked on this. You're going to become the most interesting candidate in the room. Do you understand? Yeah. So, I would just say defer to asking AI, right? And AI can really give you really actionable steps. It will really give you the steps and says set up a GitHub account, write this. If you don't know how to do any of this, ask it. It will tell you exactly the steps. Like you literally have all the answers today to get started in any field.
Right. Thank you so much. That's very, very practical. Thank you. So the
Yeah.
next question says, I intend to delve into tech in the nearest future aside dentistry. This is Daniela Emmanuel, is a scholar, a 100 level student of UI studying dentistry. With the job market increasingly valuing digital competency, which specific tech skills or tools do you believe young people should prioritize today to remain competitive and be relevant in the next 5 to 10 years, sir?
Honestly, as relates to dentistry, I am not sure that I know, right? Like I said, I would defer to AI is the expert, right? Because it simply scans the internet for what other people are saying, right? And you have all of that information brought to one place for you to read and say, okay, does this make sense? Does this not make sense, right? So we can ask AI, right? And see. Also, reach out to your seniors. That's the good thing. Reach out to seniors. I do have a friend also in dentistry in UCH right now, but reach out to your seniors and say, okay, do you think there's any digital skills that I should learn? And because they've been there longer, they've seen more, they've experienced more, you know, they'll be able to help you out. They'll be able to say, okay, now that I'm in my 50th year, I think I've noticed these, I think I've noticed that. Also, that we have classmates that are doing stuff. Also, being in the medical school, there's actually lots of opportunities in that, depending on how you position yourself and like I said, be courageous. You need to be courageous. You need to think big. There's some of my mates, that entered into dentistry school and dentistry when I also entered UI. There's some of them that they got to travel out of the country for conferences, because of the way they position themselves, the knowledge they gained, and the roles that they played. So Talk to your seniors, talk to your seniors. They will have really good information. If you feel like I still don't have enough not information, reach out to Dreams to Legacy. We are also professionals. We also reach out to other professionals. I'm sure there's so many Dreams to Legacy mentors that know other, dentists that are currently in the field that can one of these days they might be able to get a person on a call, schedule a call with you, just even just 10, 15 minutes, you have the opportunity to ask them questions. They give you that information. So Dreams to Legacy is a network of mentors that you can actually leverage. Do you understand?
All right. So, one final word for the scholars and generally about their career, their skills and technology.
Well, I would say that fortune favors the bold. And people say, is education a scam? No, it's not. It's really about, and is it doing the work, putting in the work? Is it still worth it? I would say it's still worth it, right? Because it really doesn't matter what you're studying. It really doesn't matter what you choose to do. You may even be a you can say, oh, I'm in dentistry and I decided to pick up tech, right? It really doesn't matter what you choose to do. Believe me, work hard at it. Work hard at it. I would say I tell people every once in a while, I say, oh, I actually personally have a few regrets in my life. And so what are the regrets? I'm like, well, I wish I actually worked harder when I was in school. So, and everybody then was like, what's even the point of the degree was? And I come and years later, I'm like, "Ah, actually, I wish I worked harder. And not even necessarily because I'm like, oh, maybe my certificate would have opened doors, but because there's something that hard work actually does to you as a person. It changes you in so many more ways than just the degree you get. So I would say whatever you're doing, whatever course you're doing, let me just quickly give a quick. I sorry if I'm going above time. Let me quickly give a quick example. My set in UI, we entered 2017, finished 2023 because of strikes, right? Instead of 2021. Um, the best graduating student in my set was also in my fellowship. And he was not just the best graduating, he was the best graduating student in the whole of UI, right? He had like a 3.99 some nine something GPA. And then I remember when we just entered university, this boy shared a testimony. He said, I'm a very brilliant student from secondary school and I wanted to do medicine. Or, it was maybe medicine he wanted to do. And they gave me, it was like agric, I think it was crop protection or something like that. And he said he was just feeling so down. And then he just took him, he was encouraged that, he knows that God has a purpose. And then he hunkered down on his books and graduated before he graduated first, he had gotten the opportunity to travel to the US for a conference. And then when he graduated, he got this Erasmus Mundus scholarship. And before we did convocation, he was already in Europe. In fact, the speech that he gave on as the best graduating student, he had to do it online. He said for the first time in history, they had never allowed anybody to give a speech online that he was supposed to give on the convocation ceremony, but they made an exception for him. He took that course that he was given and he said, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to be the best. And he became the best, not just in the best graduating in his department, best graduating in his faculty, he was best graduating the entire UI for the 2023 set. So that's just what I would say. Work hard at whatever you want to work hard at. Whatever you're doing, just do it well. It doesn't really matter what it is. Just do it to the best of your ability. And I think that would be my last words to you guys.